all those years ago. I can't remember how I did this. I can't remember how I made that piece to hold the stays on. It was a long time. 87. How many years is that?
38.
38 years ago between frames. It's going to look nice when both bikes are assembled side by side. Go for a ride down the driveway. We were talking about that. Maybe you could ride the number 1 and I'll ride the number 2. Cool. Hi, I'm Paul Brodie. You know that. Mitch behind the cameras, and we're back in the shop. Thanks for joining us. We're working on the WOZNOT. Since last episode, I did some welding, and I filed down some of the welds. Not completely smooth, but okay, have a look. I'm not a perfect welder. See the holes? I remember on WOZNOT number 1, I had to go back and I had to fill stuff like that. So it's not a big deal. I just heat it up with oxy-acetylene and put a little weld there. So I'm going to show you how I file it up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do half of this. And this is what I used. I did this outside because it's kind of messy. There's a lot of dust. So I used a spiral roll, and then I'll use the belt set. So I'm going to do this a little bit. I'll just show you what I do, and you'll get the idea. And then I'm going to take the belt sander, and I'm going to polish this a little bit, then by hand. In other news, last month I had a birthday. Someone made me a handmade card, very nice. I thank you, Megan. And I don't want birthday wishes. Please don't do that. It's last month. It's gone. But I'm now 70. I'm still on chemo, still making YouTube videos. So that's my story. Thanks for watching. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm trying not to gouge, and I just want it to be a smooth radius. So I did this here, and I did this outside because it was messy, like I said. And this whole thing took me almost an hour. So what I'm going to do now is to grab my belt sander, and I'm going to polish this a little bit, because now you know what I'm doing. I don't have to do the whole thing. You get the idea, I know that. I've got my belt sander here. If you haven't watched the video, I highly encourage you to. 248,000 views and over 9,000 likes. So, a custom belt sander. Okay, here we go. So that's how we sand it. A little smoother than that. It takes out the low spots. And then it's fine fingering, just 80 grit, 1 inch wide, a cloth back. And then after I do it with the 80 grit, I can shift to 180 and then get some Scotch-Brite. That's probably what I'll do. Just make it all smooth so that everything blends in. See how there's a little low spot right there? Can you see how it's... So, need to do a little bit more by hand, because on that part right there, I can't get that with the belt sander because that's the flat spot on the side. So this is all by hand. Aluminum soft. When you're doing fillet brazing, that's a little harder because the bronze doesn't sand as readily. So there, I don't have to do everything. I think you get the idea. That's what I want you to get, the idea. Okay. So then I'll switch to a finer grit, 180, and then Scotch-Brite. I like the red stuff. It's kind of coarse. Works. You can even see how it makes it all kind of uniform. There. That's kind of the finish I ultimately want. It's got a little, I don't know if I'm going to fill that in. I mean, how perfect do you want? Okay, so next up on my list today, remember these from a previous video? I'm gonna drill some holes in the tube. We're gonna look at the other frame, see where they are. We're gonna match. I'm gonna drill one hole, the farthest hole on each end. And then for this guy here, one hole in the middle. And then after they get painted, I'll drill the other holes and 1/8 inch pop rivets, aluminum pop rivets. Cool, eh? All right, so I've got my red Sharpie, fine, very important tool, and a vernier. And I'm just going to take some measurements off the other frame, make some marks on this one, and I'll show you how I make a line right along the top tube that doesn't go up or down at all. So there's one mark. I'm just doing the outermost hole, and then when these get painted, I'll make the other hole. Then I'll know it's just what I want. I'm moving this hole a bit because that's what I want. I'm just eyeballing this. I'll Scotch-Brite it out. So there's the center line, and then you can see how the hole is about that far over. There's my center line. And the hole's going to be right there. How do you mark this? I'll show you. I'm holding it in the vise. I'm holding it carefully. I've got some extrusion. It's aluminum. You could have a right angle. So when you hold it like that, can you see how it's going to be perfectly in line? That is perfect. Okay, and then we need to mark the hole underneath. There's the center line. And on the original WOZNOT, coming down like that. See, I didn't paint these and they're going a little rusty. On mine, I'm going to paint them. So I'm going to center punch and we're going to go over to the drill press. Okay. All right, that's done. Next of all, we're going to go to the lathe. We're going to remelt the head tube. I got special tools for that. So Okay, it's aluminum. We need lots of oil. We don't want anything seizing up here. So lots of cutting oil. It's supposed to be 90 RPM, that's all. There's not a whole lot to come out. I've had this tool for a very long time. It's been sharpened a lot. It probably cuts undersized now, but it means the headset never falls out, never. Okay. Yeah, this one's a little tighter, I can feel it. Okay, now it's facing the end. So you can see all the chips and the end is faced, so I just have to deburr now. It's pretty easy with this tool. And then I take a file on the very end. But it's already got a chamfer on it, so I think it's okay. There we go. All right, so the next thing we're doing, we've got to make the piece that goes on the end of the seat tube. That's what holds the rear end, which is made out of chromoly. I'm still looking for chainstays, so they're round and they're tapered, and I think they're a little rare these days. It's not 1987 anymore. Let's go over here. We need to make one of these. This is what holds on the rear end. I'll just grab the rear end. I took this off. It gets held on with some bolts. So this is what goes onto there. And there's a 5mm Allen screw, which goes in through the cap and threads into there. So this is inch. I have a piece. We're going to go over to the mill. We're going to miter it 1 3/8. It's the same angle as the seat tube, and I mitered that at 6 degrees. The mill's still set. I just have to center it, and you can see how this works here. I put an alloy plug in there. It got drilled through for 8mm Allens. This is one. I was using Imperial back then, so these are actually 1/4 National Fine. This one will be 6mm. So let's go miter, and then we put it in the lathe. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do is to drill the hole, and I'm going to tap it 6mm, and then we'll miter. Okay, that's the plan. Speed tap. Okay, so we got a miter, take off the burrs, then it goes back in the lathe. We have to make a cut. And it's going to be easier to hold on to this than to hold on to a little bit there. So that's what we'll do. 5 thou under, that's good. So I'll take out this tool and I'll put a parting tool in there. I'm going to square up that shoulder because it has to butt on the tube. If it fits in there. Oh, and it's a little bit sloppy, which is what I want, because this is going to get welded on. This is going to distort from the welding. Okay, so need to take off that little guy there. Oh, the thread didn't quite go all the way through. So I got to run the tap through that again. So we'll just go over to the drill press, use the countersink, get these holes down a little bit. Okay. Can you see how the very end has no thread? Need to fix that. I've got a longer tap now. It's a bottoming tap, not a spiral point. I was in bed last night and I couldn't sleep, and I'm thinking about how to make a fixture to hold this so it's in the middle, because if you eyeball it, you probably don't get it right. That's what happens when you can't sleep when you're thinking about shop stuff. I'm going to take 2 flat plates and clamp them, and then the ready rod's going to come out here. And I'm going to take a piece of wood. This is my plan that I was thinking about when I can't sleep at night. And there's a piece of wood. It's going to be the same size as the seat tube, 1 3/8 inches. It's going to have a hole through the middle, a 1/4 inch hole. And that's what's going to hold this in line. Mitch is nodding his head, so I've got some confirmation here. So right on. Got to sand the back here because it's got some kind of a coating on it. There's my center line. Actually, I can do it this. These tubes are the same size, so if I rest it there, that's my center line. And then if I draw a line right along, like that. So what I want, that's how that's going to go, right like that. I can eyeball the center line. And then I can take my Sharpie and I'll put a mark. This is more or less level. So that's where I want it to be. So when I set it up with the fixture, that's where that goes. And then we'll do a little TIG welding again. I'll try my hand. Okay. I have to watch this guy. And the ready rod never seized in the hot aluminum. I was wondering about that. I didn't put any anti-seize on there. I probably should have, but it's okay. And there's my tack. So I'm just going to weld around now, and then we're good. I'm done. There we go. I'm glad that's done. Thank you for watching. We'll be back in a week or so. If we like coffee, please buy us coffee. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. See you next week.